So this is solar power for beginners. For those of you that want solar for your RVs, I just went through the whole process of determining the system that we will be installing on our RV. And I figured, why not share this with you? The first thing that I wanted you guys to know, since this is really basic stuff, is just understanding of electrical power produced by solar panels. So understanding electricity is not that difficult when you think of it in terms of water. I know this sounds funny, but bear with me. Imagine that you're capturing rainwater in 50-gallon drums. These 50-gallon drums are the equivalent of your battery. The rain is the equivalent of the sun. So with that in mind, you have to figure out how much rain can you capture into your 50-gallon drums. And then when it comes to using your electricity, i.e. your water, you have to determine what appliances use at what rate. So if you turn on a spigot and it's putting out 2 gallons per hour and you have a 50-gallon drum, you can determine how long that water is going to last you. It works the same with electricity and batteries. That's the trick to understanding electricity. I was taught right from the beginning this similarity that water has to electricity. You can really take it quite far, because let's say that you're capturing rainwater. Well, how big is the tarp that you're capturing rainwater with? Well, that's the equivalent of your solar panels. How much sunlight can your solar panels capture? So all these things, I'm hoping all these analogies are going to help you understand a little bit of how I'm going to explain to you the solar system that we selected for the RV. I want to make some assumptions in this solar system, and that is that you want batteries. Now, home solar systems are different, so I don't want to get into those because they're attached to city power, and there's a whole thing involved with that, so I'm going to leave that out of it. So right now I'm going to just stay with my rainwater analogy and talk about solar system as it's meant to use in an RV. So in an RV, you're going to have a battery bank, you're going to have a solar array, and then you're going to have some devices that allow you to use this electricity. So you have a device that allows you to store your solar power into your batteries. This is called a solar charge controller. And like everything else in the world, depending on technology, you're going to get more efficient ones and less efficient ones. You're going to have an inverter. An inverter is a device that lets you turn your 12-volt DC from a battery into AC, which is the electricity you have in your home. You have a charger. A charger, basically when you're plugged into your shore power in an RV, a charger makes sure that your batteries get charged through this charger. So for instance, if you're on a cloudy day, if you're under trees and your solar panels can't charge your batteries, you want to have an alternate way of charging your batteries. You can do so by plugging in your RV like you would do so to shore power, but instead you plug it into a generator. And if you have a charger on board, then you can charge your batteries that way. Lastly, for convenience sake, I highly recommend a power switch. That means that this device can tell when you're plugged into shore and when you're wanting to run from your batteries, and it automatically switches back and forth. It gives priority obviously to shore power. So those are the main components that are involved in a solar power system. You can get a solar system that is all-in-one. So there's companies out there that'll sell you the batteries, the panels, and everything in between. I'm more granular than that, so I'm just going to put it out there. I went with Go Power. They have a kit that is just really phenomenal. It only needed one little tweak for my taste, and that's the solar charge controller. The one they have is not as efficient. I don't know why they did that. Everything else in their system is really top notch, and the solar charge controller is just a little junky. So I don't know why they did that. I'm sure they did it to keep costs down because their panels are phenomenal. They're 190 watt panels. These are really powerful panels. You know, 10 years ago you needed, it was like 100 watt per panel was like the gold standard, and now you're being able to find each panel at 190 watts, and they just went to this about a month ago, so I'm really lucky to get these. Before this they were 170 watts per panel. So basically I'm able to collect 570 watts, all things being perfect. You know, the solar panels have to be at 90 degrees from the sun and all that kind of stuff. I'm not tilting my panels just because of complication, you know, moving parts, getting up on the roof. If I do it mechanically, it's just too much. I've always known this from the beginning, that when I was going to mount my solar panels, I was going to mount them flat on the roof and just take it from there. A lot of people tilt their solar panels just to get that extra 30%. As the sun goes over, you're going to lose quite a bit of power if it's not at 90 degrees to the sun. But it's a sacrifice I'm having to make because tilting it is just such a headache for me. So I'm not going to do that. Where I can just put a little bit of money into the solar charge controller and get a 30% boost there. So, you know, these are the things that you have to weigh against each other and see what it is that you want to do. The battery bank. So the battery bank, again, back to my analogy, imagine it as your 50-gallon drums. So I'm getting two 200 amp batteries from a company called Rely On. So lots of reasons to why I chose this battery. I did a lot of research throughout this whole thing, and the Go Power kit and the Rely On batteries are 90% of my solar system. And the reasons that a lithium ion battery is better over lead acid of any kind is from weight to space to maintenance to, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. You have to vent. Anyway, it's endless, the list of. There's cheaper, and that's the only disadvantage that lithium ion has over any of the lead acid ones. You know, the more expensive lead acid ones, the sealed gel and all that kind of stuff, they're the most expensive. And even those, I'll be frank, they're about $400 for a sealed lead acid battery, the gel ones. And the cheapest lithium ion that I could find was over $1,000. And again, the battery bank is the same as your water container. So to do a one-to-one, think of my battery bank as a two 200-gallon water tanks. I have two 200 amp hour batteries. So just to explain amp hours in a really simple way, a 60 watt bulb uses 60 amp hours if it's on for 1 hour. It's really that simple. There's a lot more to it involved. Don't let people confuse you. Just keep it simple. There's little nudges that you can do left and right depending on the temperature, the size of the wire being used, how clean the electricity is, you know, blah blah, whatever. The bare bones is that a 60 amp bulb uses 60 amp hours in 1 hour if you leave it on the whole time. So just like a water tank, if you take out 60 gallons out of 200-gallon tank, in 1 hour, how much do you have left? 140. Works the same. So this is why I tell people that dream about having air conditioners run through their batteries. Think about it. Like a 13,000 BTU air conditioner, you know, the roof ACs on RVs range from 11,000 to like 15,000. So at 13,000, which is kind of in the middle, it pulls about 170 watts per hour. Think about how many amp hours your RV has currently and how fast you will drain those batteries running 175 amps per hour. Your air conditioner is going to dry those up in no time. This is the reason why I tell people when they're trying to figure out how to boondock and how to come up with a solar power system to be able to run their air conditioner. It's do the math. I mean, you're going to need, if you're going to run the AC, let's say for 4 hours a night, and the AC is using up 175 amp hours, how many batteries are you going to need in order to run an air conditioner efficiently and still have power for your lights. I'm carrying enough stuff. So two 200 amp batteries for us was a lot of money. the 200 amp batteries, they're about 20 inches long by 10 inches wide each, and they weigh about 60 pounds. And with 400 amp hours, we feel we're gonna have enough power to run all our entertainments with 2 kids, you know, TVs, lights, and small appliances. You know, my rice cooker's 20 amps. For those of you who are interested, the Instant Pot runs at about 80 amps. And of course, if it's not on for the whole hour, you're not using the 80 amps. It does pull 80 amps all at once, and it's prorated, you know, depending on how long you run it for the hour. So whenever you're setting up your solar, whether you're doing it through a professional or whether you're doing it yourself, well, if you're doing it yourself, you're really going to get educated on this stuff. But even if you're doing it through a professional, you want to know, you know, when we bought our Class A, the dealer told us that the battery bank in that unit was going to be able to run a refrigerator for 7 days at a time. It turns out that it can't run it for 1 day. You know, it's buyer beware with all this kind of stuff. So if you're going to have the solar system installed on your rig, it serves to have a little bit of understanding as far as how many amp hours you have, meaning how big are your tanks of water, and how much are you going to consume out of that water. So even an LED light that's 6 watts, if it's on for an hour, it just pulled out 6 watts out of those 400. So you don't have 400 watts anymore unless something's coming in, and at night nothing's coming in. So keep that in mind, you know, as you're figuring out, even with a professional, what your system requirements should be. The roof needs to be able to accommodate your solar panels. These 190 watt solar panels are roughly 60 inches by 26 inches each. I went up there and I measured it, and we're going to be able to fit all 3. Unfortunately, not neatly in a row, but we are going to be able to put all 3 up there. You know, a professional can help you with that as well, you know, to measure all this kind of stuff. What you need to figure out and work with them at is how many watts can the solar array collect for you, because this is the rainwater that's going into your water tanks. Whether you tilt or not, how much sun there is during the day, how many hours you get. In winter, you're not going to be able to charge your batteries as well as in summer. If you're in a lower latitude, you're going to be able to get, you know, if you're not tilting and you're in a lower latitude, you're going to get more. All these things play into how much more solar you're going to get into your batteries, how much rainwater you're going to get into your water tanks. So somebody to give you a number that you can just carry home with, it's not that kind of science. The best way to do it is to get the best case scenario and then work from there, and expect that that's not the solar collecting that you're going to see in real world. I've been drawing this stuff out. I actually got on the phone with Go Power because I had some questions about their inverter charger transfer switch. It's all in one. That's the other thing. I like easy. Inverter, charger, and transfer switch. These are 3 pretty important components all in one. So this is the reason I went with the Go Power kit. When it's all contained, you know, 99% of the time these systems work better when you contain them all in one place. And my question for them was, can the inverter and the charger be turned on and off independently of anything else? Meaning, it doesn't matter whether I'm plugged in, whether I'm in solar, whether I'm charging, I don't care. I want to be able to turn them on and off by hand whenever I want. And they said, yes, you can do that, and that was a go, no-go for me. Most can, but heaven forbid, you know, with my luck, I would have bought the one that did not, and these things are really expensive. The solar charge controller, I knew from the beginning, there's 2 technologies that charge your batteries from the solar panels. One is not very efficient, the other one is very efficient. The very efficient one costs about 3 to 4 times as much as the non so efficient one. It all has to do with being able, the more expensive one, for lack of a better explanation. It has all to do with dynamically being able to adjust how much water it can siphon from the solar collectors into your water tanks. That was my big questions for Go Power. The other one was roof access. They have plates that let you access through the roof. I wanted to make sure we weren't fishing cables through the roof. You know, that's a big no-no. So this plate, basically, you mount the plate on the roof of the RV. It's sealed all the way to weather, and then you connect cables on the bottom and you connect cables on the outside, and that's how you make the connections for solar. Very smart. So I wanted to make sure those were part of the kit because that's a showstopper. So I'm going to share with you my little diagram here. I have their suggested system diagram for Go Power and the system that I purchased, not including the batteries in this case. And it's a simple block diagram in their case. And what I did was I made one that's more specific to our RV and how all these items are positioned physically throughout the RV. And I highly recommend doing that as well. When a professional is doing it for you, ask for something like this. If you have any specific questions as far as why I chose certain things, please let me know and I'll be happy to answer them. And yeah, as always, if you like these little impromptu heads up on things that we're doing and the rest of our videos and how we're getting ready to go travel the country once again, we can't wait. Please subscribe. There's a lot of adventures coming up. This is just us getting ready. I wonder how you're getting ready. I know a lot of you are for upcoming trips, and it is always wonderful to hear how other people are doing it. Until next time. I just finished compiling the video and realized that I didn't mention that we're not being sponsored by any of the companies that I just mentioned. Go Power and Rely On, which is where we got our solar kit and our batteries. So yeah, at this moment in time, as the filming of this video, neither are we in negotiations to, or have we been approached for sponsorship for anybody. Tear. These are just basically the products that I found that I felt were high quality and would serve us well in our RV. So with that said, thanks for watching.